But, you know, the funny thing is, with LeBron James making his decision so early, I don't know why it seems like this has been going on for like 3 weeks and it's only been a few days.
Speaking of being held hostage in a mansion, let's bring in our Hall of Famer, David Aldridge. So many players have found new homes through the draft that started free agency. But in San Antonio, the Kawhi Leonard saga continues. DA, what's the latest down there? More importantly of all the reports, what's the facts and what's fiction right now?
Well, look, I mean, nothing has changed with the basics of this deal. You know, he still wants to be traded. You know, whether it's the Lakers, the Clippers, even the 76ers, that hasn't changed. So regardless of what happened before, all of that is prologue. None of that has anything to do with the facts on the ground right now. And he still wants out of there. And the Spurs are asking for a lot. They're asking for a lot from every team that has seriously engaged them. And so far, it's been too much for those teams, whether it's the Lakers or the 76ers in terms of what San Antonio wants back in return for Kawhi Leonard, which I totally understand. He's their best player, and he's a top 5 player in the league when healthy. But as of right now, that's been a little too rich for everybody else's blood. So they have to kind of sit back, recalibrate, and see if they want to come down a little bit with those offers or if they want to try somehow to establish some sort of rapprochement with their star player.
That asking price seems pretty high. I mean, are the Spurs losing leverage in this situation, Sekou?
No, I don't think so at all. I think the first time we're going to get a chance potentially to see Kawhi and or Greg Popovich, hopefully Kawhi, but certainly Greg Popovich, is at USA Basketball training camp coming up here in a few weeks in Las Vegas. Then and only then will we get a chance to actually talk to the principals. You know, right now we're hearing all these rumors and this buzz and from somebody's camp and anonymous sources. Until you get a chance to see these guys face to face and really ask them what the status of the situation is, it's hard to know what to believe, Chris. And I think DA is right. Why would anything change based on another day going by with, you know, Kawhi's certainly his interest wanting to be moved and the Spurs obviously not wanting to do anything, you know, hastily. They don't want to rush into this because there's too much at stake.
Well, looking at the timetable, the most important question in DA becomes, will Kawhi be in the Spurs uniform at the start of next season, or will he be dealt before then?
My guess is he'll be dealt before then. Just keep in mind, Chris, remember last year, Kyrie Irving's trade request became public right after the draft. He didn't get traded till August. In 2014, Kevin Love asked to be traded from Minnesota. Everybody knew that Wiggins was going to be the piece. That didn't get done till August. So these trades take a while to get done. This is a very, you know, big trades that have to go all the way up to ownership on the respective teams to kind of sign off on these things. There's still teams that are going to want some clarity on his physical situation and if he's going to be ready for training camp and all that sort of thing. So my guess is that this will probably go, you know, a few more weeks at least before the Spurs feel like, okay, we have to do something. We can't go into training camp with this cloud hanging over us. And Sekou's right. I'm sure Pop does not want to spend all of his USA basketball training camp at the end of this month answering Kawhi questions. So my guess is that they would rather get it done sooner than later. But these things do tend to go, when you're talking about trade requests to get out, because teams want to have as much leverage as possible on both sides, they tend to get drawn out a little bit.
My biggest issue with it, you know, guys, in overall is that we're putting so much pressure on it because of the Lakers situation or because of whatever teams we think may be involved. This is the Spurs play. The Spurs are the ones who hold the leverage in this situation right now, to me, because they have the wherewithal to move him wherever they'd like. So they got to find a package that suits him, not do it on a time frame that makes Lakers fans or Sixers fans feel good. They got to do it in the arena of what works best for the San Antonio Spurs and what eases this situation overall, because you don't want to have the perception out there that you're treating your star players the way that they could be seen to treat Kawhi if they make a rush decision. I'm sure Kawhi wants the best situation possible as well, Chris. So why rush anything? Do it right, get me to where I want to be, and if there's a way they can work it out where both sides are at least amicable, you know, about it and pleased with the result, I think you take your time as best you can.
Sekou, from the the Lakers' perspective, I mean, clearly they want Kawhi Leonard, but now it looks as if their roster is a bit unbalanced. Not enough shooters, a lot of guys that handle the ball too much. Can they go into next season with this group of guys?
I mean, they could, theoretically, but it's obvious they want to play a different way. They don't want LeBron James to come to Los Angeles and play the same way he did in Cleveland the past 4 years. I don't mean play at the level he played. I'm just saying the style. They want it to be a situation where he's not having to shoulder as much of the ball handling and decision-making burden as he has in the years past. He's 33 years old, and every day he's going deeper and deeper into that, unbelievable career of his that at some point, the rubber's going to hit the road, and LeBron's going to need to lean on the help around him. And I think they're just trying to put together a roster that will give him the best opportunity to do that this season.
Certainly some flexibility with that roster, too, on the one-year deals. Rondo on that, KCP also on that. DA, there were a record 29 one-year deals in free agency so far this offseason. Why are we seeing that trend? What does that mean for the summer of 2019?
Well, it means teams are trying to, maximize the flexibility for next summer, obviously. I mean, that's going to be, I think going forward, it's going to be more of the norm. I think the J.J. Redick type of contract that you saw last year in Philadelphia is going to be more of the kind of norm. If you have the cap room, you spend it, but you keep your flexibility. The lesson from 2016, guys, is not the money that was spent out. It was the years that they were giving out. These 4-year deals for players that were not worth the money they were getting paid. It's okay to overpay a guy for 1 year. It is not okay to overpay a guy for 4 years who's not giving you anything. And so I think teams are going to be much more reluctant about these long contracts. That's why the Paul George thing was such a surprise in OKC. It wasn't that he resigned there, it was that he gave him 3 years. LeBron, you understood he was looking for some stability for his family and all that sort of thing. That makes sense. But most of the star players, the superstar level players, are doing 1+1 deals. And I think most teams are feel more comfortable doing those deals going forward. And I think players will have to understand that this is probably the new normal. That, for every benefit that you get from not smoothing in the cap and getting all that money up front, there are costs, and this may be one of them.
Yeah, I think the part of it that really appeases the players, too, is that there are guys like J.J. Redick. What other time in his career would he have made $23 million in a season?
And then followed up with 13,
with another
15.
solid deal. But, I mean, there are guys who are going to be getting paid, all-star type money when they're, no offense, but they're not all-star caliber players. But the situation is such that it allows you to cash in maybe 1 year for a big deal and then establish yourself and come back just like Redick did and get another deal from that same team. So you stay in that good situation without the pressure of having to prove yourself year after year. You get the big deal 1 year, and then you come back on something more reasonable as the team moves forward.
Seems like the flip side of that coin, the restricted free agents. I mean, Clint Capella still on the market. Marcus Smart also doesn't seem happy with his situation in Boston. DA, why are we seeing Clint Capella, especially with the season that he had, still on the market at this time?
Well, because number one, Houston is paying a lot of money to Chris Paul.
Yep.
And they're going to have, luxury tax considerations, let's put it that way. So they're not going to negotiate against themselves. With most restricted free agents, the team tells you, if you want to go get a deal, and we'll decide if we're going to match it. The problem for restricted free agents in every year, and especially this year, is that the teams that have the most cap room, whether it's Atlanta or Chicago, Sacramento to a lesser extent, aren't really interested in spending a lot of money right now on free agents, and especially restricted ones, because they know that the team is going to match. I think everybody understands Houston's going to match any offer for Clint Capella. So nobody wants to go out there and do their work for them. So you're kind of at this stalemate where Clint Capella wants to try and find a market so that the price will go up, but most teams aren't going to be interested in participating in that market this summer. Again, everybody's trying to keep their powder dry for next summer and for 2020, when there's going to be a whole mess of free agents available, unrestricted free agents available. So, you'll probably see these restricted free agents. I'm fairly certain Marcus Smart will do this, sign that 1 year deal and become unrestricted. And next summer, when the market is much bigger, there's a lot more teams with a lot more cap room, and you're unrestricted. It just makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and I think the thing that sticks out to me for a guy like Capella is, you have to go into this process understanding the difference between being an unrestricted free agent and being restricted. You know you have this glass ceiling, if you will, as a restricted free agent that you can't break through this year. The best thing you can do is come out next year, have another great season, hit unrestricted free agency, as DA said, with all these other teams that are going to have money to spend next year, Chris. It's a bonanza for free agents next summer. Right now, it was the high cotton. It was LeBron, Paul George, Chris Paul. Those big names, once they're done, there's not as much out there for the rest of these guys. So you have to wait your turn, hit unrestricted free agency, and cash in next summer.
So the summer of 2019 going to be hotter than the summer of 2018 in the free agency fever. That's
deeper,
what we're hearing.
I think deeper is what it is.
Definitely. David Aldridge, appreciate your time as well, my friend. Thank you.
Sure. My pleasure, guys.
Mo Bamba will make his debut in the Las Vegas Summer League this afternoon for the Orlando Magic. We'll get you ready for today's action next. Free agency fever rolls on.